Welcome to the Ham Radio and CB Enthusiasts 20-year podcast. Now, I'm probably aware that nobody really does that anymore, do they? CB
what is
radio.
a 20-year podcast?
Well, I don't know. So I'm assuming, in my brain, the last time people ever used CB radios was 20 years ago. So the joke is that it's a very silly thing to say. And
yeah, I mean, is this a wind-up podcast now, is it?
yeah, maybe. Yeah, just call it what I want now, isn't it? What is the podcast name, Dan?
It is not that, obviously, and anyone listening to this probably knows what it is already. But anyway, it is the Scratch Cafe talking Turntablism. Do you want to introduce our guest today?
I do, yeah. So if you love crackling, hissing noises on your telephone, radio, or other telephonic communication devices, you love high voltage, low ampage shocks, then you're going to love this guy.
I think we can probably add to that this dude has a few great UK titles under his belt, as well as competing as a team as well. He was last year's Battle for Supremacy in the UK champion. I'd like to welcome to the stage Statik. What's up, dude?
Hi guys, how you doing? You all right? Nice one.
Yeah.
Now the question is, did anybody guess who it was? By my wonderfully creative intro. What do you think?
It's like DJ Hiss or something like that.
Yeah, DJ Hiss.
I actually looked what the actual spelling of Statik was, and it was a company that sells phone cables and charging cables. So I was like, I can't get any ground out of that. So we're just going with the standard spelling.
Where did the name Statik come from? What led you to Statik?
I was just kind of stuck on a DJ name, and I suppose at the time I was really into Jerry the Damager, and there was a tune on that album called Statik. I thought, let's go with that name.
Yeah, we'll roll with that. And then years later, you're like, oh yeah.
But then I think not long before my first ever DMC, I found out there was a DJ Statik from Denmark. I was like, oh,
there is.
Yeah, did it always have a K, or was it to differentiate between?
No, it started with a K. Yeah, because I think I was thinking about how to spell it, and on the J with the Damager track, it said it had a K in the actual track title.
Yeah, nice. Well,
I was hoping you were going to say I was spending a lot of time smoothing my cat, and I kept.
Do you know what? DJ names is a thing, right? Like, so I was talking to JFB this morning, and he said to me, he goes, "Oh, mate, drop me a call." So I call him up, and he's like, you've got such a stupid DJ name. He's like, Mr. Big. I was like, I know, mate. I was like, I'm probably the most gently spoken Mr. Big Mouth there is out there. And I was like, but it's one of those things. Like once it's there, and once people know you for it, you're like, I'm not going to change it now. I'm just going to be stuck with this.
So why did you call yourself Mr. Big Mouth?
It's like having a tattoo, isn't it? You know, like, oh yeah, I've got a tattoo of a snake all over my head, and now I'm 70 years old. It looks like a giant ball bag. Do you know what I mean? It's a bit like that. It's like I'm stuck with this tattoo now. Why did I call it? I don't know, mate. I think I was having a. It was to do with what I was playing at the time. I was playing like breaks, like kind of breaks and big beat, and I was dropping loads of rap over it. I was dropping loads of rap over it, and that was like my thing. I mean, it was a long time ago, but not very many people were doing that. So it was, you know.
I've noticed like scratch DJs have like the oddest DJ names, and then like like other DJs. Well, I mean, jump up DJs are the same. They'll be like Disruptor or like something silly like that, but not spelled properly. And
yeah.
But that's you know what I mean.
Use the @ sign all the time now, isn't it? So get the @ sign in there, a couple of exclamation marks.
I suppose we better start
turn it into a password.
So I suppose we better start the podcast then, haven't we?
Yeah, we probably should start talking. So listen, mate, congratulations, by the way, for last year's awesome performance, and for knocking Myeloid off his Hugh Wackman off his little off his pedestal. Although I was delighted when I received your message to say that you still got the face. I sent that to him.
But you're forgetting, Dan. Nobody knows what they're supposed to be drinking.
You're right. So we've got a little feature that we need to just quickly do. It will be a man who's probably very familiar to you. I'm just going to bring it up now. Hold on 1 second.
Rasp's refreshment requirements for this episode is freshly squeezed lemon, raw honey, and freshly chopped ginger, accompanied by peanut coated cookies. Slam dunk that funk and enjoy the show.
I'm not going to lie. That is the weirdest thing we've ever asked somebody to do. Any comment on that?
Nah, not doing that.
No. The thing is, that was supposed to be for Peanuts one, but we got the dates mixed up, as you're well aware. So for anybody listening, go back. If you're listening to Statik now and you've got Peanuts next, you need to swap the refreshments over. Just go back and make sure you get the right refreshments. Statik's refreshments is on Peanuts, and Peanuts refreshments is on Statik's. But again, I keep telling him not to scratch, and he keeps fucking doing it.
That was a good one, though. I mean, it sounded like a phone.
Oh, yeah.
Chewbacca or something. Anyway, mate, let's start by talking about battling.
Okay.
You've been about the scene. You've won some amazing titles. You've got some awesome routines, man. Like, tell us a little bit about like how does a young Statik get into battling?
Oh God, to be honest, like I started about like 2011, but I kind of got the bug for scratching when I was in college. So basically, this was like around like 2011, and so like one of my teachers was used to compete in the DMCs like in the early 90s, whatever.
What?
Enough,
you had a teacher who competed in the DMC.
Yeah,
man. Manchester, they make things different, man, don't they?
Well, he's like a pretty well established sort of old school and jungle producer and DJ from years ago. But I actually work with the guy now because I work at that college I used to attend when I was a kid.
Oh, really? Cool.
But like, so I sort of came, saw it by accident coming back early from a break, and I was like, oh my God, what's this stuff he's doing? He was beat juggling, and kind of got into that. Really got the bug for it, and managed to get some decks that summer. And I think like was messing around, practicing cutting or whatever, trying to get to grips with it. But then used to be obsessed with DMC videos, like just would watch them while I'm eating and everything. It's probably some aspects of that is a bit odd, but anyway. So,
well, I don't know. We just witnessed something about peanut bloody cookies, and I don't know how odd it is, if I'm honest.
Yeah, but like the following year, I ended up watching the World Finals with a friend of mine, and it was like the year like. It was like 2012, so it was like the year like Vect was first in it. Richard DJ Zoe from Japan won it, and then like Precision was in it as well, and just so many people. Skills was even in it as well. So many people, and then like the following year, I was like, yeah, I'm going to enter, and didn't realise what I was getting myself in for.
Tell us the story. Go on.
Oh, so first battle I did was the Supremacy battle, and that was when it was vinyl only then.
Yeah.
And I must have like started preparing a month before it. I had about 2 juggles ready. I just didn't realise what I was getting myself in for. And first round, Rasp, first battle. So me and Rasp ended up doing my first ever battle was against Rasp.
Yeah, that's no fun.
That's an intimidating thing. That is.
Yeah, probably one of the most.
In 2011, he was a fairly finely tuned battle monster by that point, wasn't it?
Actually.
Oh, 20, that's even more ridiculous, then, isn't it?
Yeah. So basically, just wasn't ready. There was like bass bins under the stage and everything. They were making my like needles jump everywhere. One of my needles broke during one of my routines. I had to stop and like put another one, and then they let me start again. I got heckled by someone at the front of the stage.
Oh no!
Oh man, that's just so uncool.
Yeah.
Who does that,
horrible.
man?
First ever experience.
Oh, that's brutal. But you came back for more.
I did the second year. The second year, I like knew what I was doing a bit more. I knew to roll off the low end a bit more. I had routines for every round this time. And then, unfortunately for me, first round starts, I get rasp again.
Right, now just a little for people that don't know, right? So Rasp came down to Bristol to the scratch cap, and I've said this in a couple of episodes. And what he puts up is really simple, but really clean and precise. And I was like, yeah, I could probably sit with Rasp. He came around my house, and he went on my decks, and then he just did loads of northern vowels and jumped on them. And yeah, the guy's a fucking savage. He's an absolute, like, standing next to that
tricks.
boy. Jesus Christ. So, yeah, that's got to be standing next to him in front of God knows how many people live.
Yeah, because it's still been quite busy back then, presumably, as well. It was still quite...
Yeah. So that was like the sort of what I'd say, like the rough tone and switch era, right?
Oh,
so,
wow.
Like, 2013 was like Rasp ended up in the finals against Rough Tone actually as well that year.
Fair play to him.
In 2013, sorry. And yeah, basically like it was like Rough Tone, Switch came second in the 6 minutes, and then like Rough Tone won everything. And then like the year after that, it was like I think like Rasp won the Supremacy, and then like Switch won the 6 minutes. So it was like that was like a bit of a tough era, but I think like. Back to sort of the Supremacy stuff was against Rasp. So, like, I was about to start the first round. It was about 10 seconds in and my needle broke. So I had to borrow someone's, like, autophone and start again.
What needles were you using?
I was using Shaw 447s.
You snapped one of those?
Oh, God.
It just must have been, like, at the end of its life.
That is so unlucky.
Those styluses, like literally, I've been messing around with 45s, and sometimes the 45 adapter pops out and sends the 45 somewhere else. And my 447 has landed on the slip mat at least 7 times this week, and it's still going. So you must have really been wearing that motherfucker down for that to happen.
So unfortunate timing, though. I mean, like who has that kind of luck? So what happened? What happened next?
Well, they just did my routine. I borrowed someone's autophone because I think Swifty was there, and he was like sort of at the side of the stage, and he just handed me an autophone and was like, use that, start again. I was like, oh, thank you. And then I did my routine. It was okay, but then it was just kind of like, obviously I didn't pull it off as clean because the second time around I was like crapping it a little bit.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, that's got to kill your flow, right? Like. So much to prepare for these things, and then bang.
I've seen some really mad ones at the World Finals a couple of times. It was like I think one of the hosts got the times wrong for like one of the Supremacy rounds, and this French guy like went through his whole routine, and then they stopped him with like 30 seconds left.
What?
The DJ was like, "What are you doing?" And then the host was like, "Oh my bad, I got it wrong." And then he was like, "Start again," and then he just didn't.
You're kidding me!
Second time.
Oh,
like that happens, man. But,
that's so cruel. Do you know what Tommy said? Tommy, when we spoke to Tommy the other day, he said he had in the world final this year, Cupmaster Swift like forgot his name and stuff, and they had him on, and then they pulled him off to put C2C on, and then he's coming on straight after C2C, like and it's just like God, like you don't realise this stuff when you're not in it. Do you know what I mean? Like it's you can be so thrown off by organisers flipping things in and out and like crazy stuff like that. So
I've got some horror stories when it comes to battles and stuff not working and promoters and whatnot, but I'll talk about that later.
Wonderful. So basically, what point did we get up to? We got up to the point of which you were about to you broke your needle at the Supremacy Battle live, and then Switch gave you the needle. How did that go? Where did you place?
Well, basically, I'd got knocked out in the first round again against Rasp, and then that year as well, I decided to do the 6 minutes just to kind of get a bit of practice, with doing the routines live and everything. So I didn't place, but I did my 6 minutes fine. But at that time, I was like on only vinyl, so
it
was it was a learning curve basically.
Yeah, God. I mean, and you know, you're it's all the like it's marking the records in that world, you know, and like getting it so all that works. And I mean, I never did that. I never like Serato came in fairly early, like in my thing, and I moved to that quite quickly, and then I just never did the marking of records thing. So much, you were learning to do it from Quest.
Quest just taught me how to put a sticker cue point on when you reverse it. So having to make a semi-oval out of the sticker.
So Ollie thinks it's 1990.
I'm still in 1990.
So be careful. Don't.
There we go.
Don't tell him how the first Big Brother turned out yet. He still doesn't think that's happened yet. So you got all your stickers there. Nice, mate. So we're 2013. You've had a couple of shots at Rasp, and it's challenging. But there's a turning point for you, right? Because you start winning these things, and you start performing better, and you start incorporating more, and you go more digital. Tell us about that story, man. How does that come about?
Right, so like I got Serato not long after the UK finals that year, so 2014. Nice. And then basically what happened was there was like so I don't know if Dan, you used to live in Manchester, didn't you?
I did, yeah. For about 5 years, I was I was at uni there, and I stayed there for a bit longer. Okay,
so basically, there was like this collective / label that put on a DJ battle at Antwerp Mansion. I don't know if you remember that place.
Yep. That was a crazy place.
yeah. It's. I don't know how that place was running for God knows how many years, and I don't know how they managed to keep their license.
I don't know how it was still up. Anyway,
so like that year, I did like this DJ battle, and it was local people who entered, and it was like I don't know who you might know in Manchester, but there was like this group called the Natural Curriculum, like a hip hop group.
Yep, I know Natural Curriculum. Yep,
yeah. So 2 of their DJs were in it, and then there was like a couple of other local people I sort of knew as well. And just kind of like that year, I made all my routines in Serato, for that competition, sorry. And yeah, ended up entering that. I ended up like winning it. And then from that point, it was like, right, okay, started getting involved with more people who, you know, where I've got opportunities to perform live, and then sort of like started doing more stuff when I was playing live with like the mixer and whatnot. But I suppose after that point, that's when I started getting ready for the 2015 lot for the run of battles. So I think like that year I did DMC with Serato, but I was using a Rain 56 and an SL1 box, and then was doing I did the IDA that year as well. But I kind of like didn't get rid of vinyl. I kind of used a bit of both. So I was like using routines with vinyl and Serato at the same time.
Ah, cool. Nice. How did, like, what were you like, was that just to have the right tune selection, or was that to do some specific tricks?
It was kind of like a little bit of, because I suppose at the time I was kind of doing a lot of like, I was doing doing quite a few feedback stuff in my routines. So I was like routing the
You need the needle live basically to be able to get the feedback to create the tone you wanted, yeah.
Yeah, but a lot of the time I was using like this phono to jack cable, where I was just routing the sound back on itself through a headphone slot, and then messing with the feedback tones.
Oh really?
Yeah, wicked, man, wicked. How did you get that idea? Where did that come from?
From the Scratch Perverts, wasn't it? Really?
Of course, right? Yeah, cool.
Well, you know where that comes from, don't you?
No, I don't.
You can turn a studio mixer into a synthesizer.
Can you?
By looping the channels back out of inputs, outputs. So you can get a tone on every channel and start messing with the frequencies.
Around.
Yeah. So like if you started messing with, say, the gain, it would like mess with the tone or whatnot. So some mixers do it where the line fader will change the tone, but with the 56 was the only mixer where you could adjust the level with the line, the level fader.
That's mad.
So it wouldn't change the tone; it would just increase the volume of the actual feedback.
Because it was a digital mixer, so essentially that fader was a controller. So there was no actual audio running through it. So your gain would change the frequency when you change the value on the pot, but the thing wouldn't because it was controlling a DSP, so you'd only have line.
Interesting.
There we go. Yeah.
Right, someone with a ball patch out there just had an orgasm.
Was the 56 a digital mixer?
I think it was the beginning of the DSP range of them. I know it's like, so my Yuri's like 98, I think, and it's like one of the first DSPs, and I think they put the master through the DSP, so it's analog all the way until the DSP that handles the effects, then it starts it. But I think the 56 was one of the first analog range. I'm probably going to be wrong. Please tell me in the comments. But it would make a lot of sense why the fader wouldn't affect the tone, because it'd be controlling level alone. Because of Anyway, I could be wrong. I'm normally wrong anyway. So let's talk about faders then. What is your favourite fader? Crossfader, that is.
I mean, so I'd say the best scratch fader I've used is probably the Rain 56 one, the OG one, like the old one. But because I've got an S11 now, don't go crazy, Ollie.
I don't have the energy. I'm going to ask you about this later. But are you going with the original Rain fader, or are you going with the S11?
I like the Magville fader, but I feel like because I'm quite heavy-handed when I juggle, I feel like I'm going to break it sometimes. So I'm going to go with the original Rain fader.
Well, so we've got a call random now. And we're going to ask him about this. And I feel like you may have said the right thing.
He might be a total savage, though. Static warning.
So,
warning for our listeners.
It sounds like we got to see what DJ Random's got to say. Oh, here we go. Can you hear that, Static? He can't hear you, by the way.
It's okay.
Hi, Ollie. Hi, Dan. Hi, Mr. Static. Hope you're all doing well. Big shout to the Scratch Cafe. What can I do for you today?
Have you moved your bed and got out the right side or something, Dom?
Can you hang on a sec?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Dave, if you could take that box down to the church and give it to Mr. Callahan, that's all the clothes that I've collected for the homeless orphans. Yeah, sorry about that. What can I do for you today, boys?
Oh, so I don't know what to say. So Static's just said he prefers the Rain 52 original crossfader. What do you think about that?
56 fader.
Sorry.
I mean, I love the original Rain faders. But for me personally, the best fader I've ever used, and I'm still using, is the N-type PCV fader that Vestax gave me to try out. I stuck it in an 08 Pro, and it is absolutely solid. Minimal maintenance, just needs cleaning. The cut is still real tight. I've never really had to do much of it, and I just love it to pieces. So I hope that answers your question. Thanks for phoning. Really good to hear from you all. I hope you're all good, and I hope you have a lovely day.
Well, that was absolutely wonderful. Thank you, Random, and I'll be in touch.
No worries.
What the fuck?
I'm starting to understand why he might be called DJ Random.
Yeah. So that would I'm actually put back a little bit, but there we go.
I think it's time to spill the beans. I was gonna do a little plot twist and call Random during this podcast and ask him but because I was in work, I didn't have time to think of something funny to ask him, so we just didn't do it.
That is a genius idea, though. Fair play to you. I don't know what's happened there. He's obviously he's found God or something.
He's clearly the sun obviously treats him well. So we wonder if so
it's spring.
It's really bugging me. What Rain mixer was that you were talking
the
about?
56.
The Rain was the Rain.
There was a 56 and there was a 56S that linked into Serato directly, wasn't there? I think
was it the S?
The 57 was the first one that had
57
was Serato, but it was the first 56. So not the 56.
Okay, let's have a look. It's been bugging me literally all the way through that. Right.
I don't know.
Jesus.
I don't know what you.
I don't even know how to spell rain. This is like the worst podcast content ever.
Yeah. Well. Oh, should we drum roll it?
Rain.
No.
Find the information out.
I think we just leave it there.
Should we leave it there? I'll message you on Instagram afterwards. But yeah, okay. So you go into like mental Rain 56 hookery, pissing around with tones and hacking the system. Where'd you go next in your turntablism journey?
Well, with what you mean with the digital stuff, or just
Yeah.
What happened after that?
So I mean, like that particular, I was got on my routines ready for the competition. So I kind of was using, a lot of, just using Serato with my, DJ with my decks. But at the time as well, I was sort of messing around with using like an MPC 2500 with like live shows I used to do with like MCs and stuff. But I suppose that's like the spark of wanting to do more with the mixer and routines and performances and stuff. But I suppose like after the competitions that year, I ended up getting a Rain 62. And then that's when like I started doing all the crazy MIDI mapping and Ableton route and stuff.
There was an era of that cool stuff. Well, I mean, but it's wicked, man. I think it adds such a nice sort of like, I said something mildly similar to Tommy. Actually, it's like I can tell a Static routine. It's got a style. You've got a style to juggling. There's like these kind of quick baby scratches to add like extra like detail and stuff. You use like a mix of like stuff that you're obviously producing and using Ableton for and leveraging that with, and also recognizable samples. So you're like a nice like blend between those two styles as well. Like I reckon I could pick your stuff out of a series of stuff if I was just kind of listening to it, and that's amazing, right? Like, because having your own style gives you the originality punch, that helps you punch through and win these competitions. I'm fascinated by how people kind of come to that. Like, obviously you've got the influence of the scratch perverts for some of the feedback stuff, and you've got the fact that you were doing that. What kind of made you go, I'm going to join these things together and explore those possibilities? Like, what gets you there?
I don't know. I suppose when I'm watching like old routines and I'm watching like the stuff that was kind of like making me think, this is cool, this is interesting, rather than just being like, that's a juggle, that's a cutting routine. It's like, you see DJ Shifty doing like these feedback routines and then he's incorporating juggling and cutting. Or when you're seeing like, like the Scratch Perverts guys, or like Plus One, for example, where he's like doing feedback tones and he's using bass on the decks. It's just kind of like taking that idea of like being able to create new sounds and just basically use the decks as an instrument, just as like what we do with cutting, really, isn't it?
Yeah. I hear you. So there's almost a conscious thing of like, how can I push this? Like, how can I mess with this and twiddle with this to try and do something new and original? Awesome. Yeah. And how do you like? So coming at routines, then, for example, like what's your process? How do you build a routine? What happens at the beginning of that?
I suppose part of it is like, I think it's just finding music that interests me, really.
Yeah.
Or just finding stuff that sounds cool. So there was one where I was thinking like I wanted to make a just like a jungle routine with just aiming breaks and like different breaks I've got, and then 808s. And
is that the one where you got the bass on two sides and then you've got I know the one you're talking about. Yeah, I was watching it the other day. It's a cool routine.
So I think like it's kind of like, how can I suppose starting with it's thinking like my process, I would do it is I kind of map stuff out in Ableton now. Whereas years ago, I would like think of a juggle, then think of a cutting section, and then think of like something where I can flip it and then use like any innovation with the technology, or for example, innovation with the mixer, like the like the feedback stuff, and then incorporate like scratching, juggling with that. But I don't really have a set process. Like I don't like think, right, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. I just kind of keep working on it and molding it, and then just trim the fat where needed. When I think, right, I'm doing this too much or I'm doing that too long.
Nice.
So your good friend, Mr. Peanuts, he's like mega anal when it comes, as you're probably aware, really anal when it comes to making his routine. He's got a love, you know what I mean? He goes mad. How do you differ from Mr. Peanuts when it comes to a routine being built?
Oh God. That's a really tough question because like from doing the team stuff with Tom, like most of the times when we're practicing and creating these routines, it's him teaching me patterns and then like just being like, no, it's like this and you do that. I feel like I must have really got on his nerves last year because he was just like trying to show me patterns throughout the whole time.
Tell you what though, handy to have Tommy teaching you patterns, man. Jeez, I mean, he's got a few, isn't he?
Yeah, he's just with Tom. He's like super intricate with like rhythms and like how it sounds and like the technique that you're doing and like if it sounds good and it looks good, etc. But like with me, I don't know. I think it's just like how much I can kind of flip the music is the main thing. But obviously,
it's tune. I like that tune. So it's like I like that tune. I can do something with that tune. Put the tune on the deck. See where you can take it.
Yeah. As well, though, a lot of it is like if you are beat juggling and you're thinking, right, is this drum programming gonna like come out with make me do some interesting patterns? Am I just gonna do something I've done before with it? Can I do something new with it that I can't do on another track? It's about taking that approach of just being like, right. Like a big one is my favourite break to juggle is Synthetic Substitution by Melvin Bliss, just because there's like so many little like ghost notes, just interesting rhythms in it.
You got a lot you can you've got loads of different options. Like it's all whether they're 16th notes apart, whether they're 8th notes apart, whether it's kick snare or snare kick, or you know what I mean. You've got so many that you can kind of pull out of there. Yeah. I'm with you on that stuff. I think that's interesting. And then do you like record yourself and then sit and think, how can I improve this? Or like, what's the iterative side of that journey look like?
I think what a lot of tends to happen is I'll beat juggle something. I mean, like there's been times where I'll just freestyle juggle and just see what comes out. And then if it sounds cool and like it's interesting, then I will record it and then remember it for later.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just like, let's just play around, see what comes out. And then like, if it works, then I'll just, just work on it from there and then remember it or sometimes record it.
And you're not like a career sort of, I want to win this competition. Like Quest told me that when he won that year, that he literally took apart every winning routine and took a bit from that. And it was like, this is what I need to win the competition. And he built a routine to win. Do you find yourself in that mentality, or is it just a creative process and you're like, I like this is what I'm doing?
I think with these competitions and stuff, you can't really gauge what is going to win. Because like sometimes there's been routines I've seen that have won and you're like, what the hell was that? And there's been sometimes you've seen routines that have won and you're like, yeah, that was clearly a win.
Yeah.
So I think it's just like, for me, it's just like, I don't like think I'm going to be like, yeah, I'm going to win it and this, that, and the other, because I mean, not a 20-something-year-old, young man anymore who hasn't got responsibilities. It's practice 8 hours a day.
Yeah. But you're still getting in there. You're still getting in there and doing it, which is interesting because coming back from those two very traumatic times right at the beginning, we're 10 years later and you're still doing it. So it's quite. What the hell was going on? Do you know what I mean? Practically, you felt embarrassed twice in front of two big crowds, but yet you got on the horse and went back and did it again. What is it pulling you back to doing it?
I don't know. Probably there's many things wrong with me. Probably that's making me do that. But I suppose I know. I mean, at this time, I suppose in 2015 when my first time I ever won a UK title was 2015. So like. I think it was just like keep going back and then like learning things each time, really.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? You get
for a little bit of backing. We're on a wing and a prayer with a camera battery at the moment, which is why you saw him look up and check.
How is it doing? Is it all right?
It's fine. It's on full. It's fine.
Oh, good. We'll all be all right then. We'll all be all right.
Yep.
So. Cool. So you've got the battling end of things there. What's going? So that's what's happening when you're battling, right? What's going on in the background, like gigs wise? Because you say there you kind of, and I know Manchester's got an amazing scene for all of this too. You've kind of got you're doing production and stuff and beats on MPCs and things like that for hip hop groups and MCs and stuff. There's obviously you're a very skilled DJ, right? So there's obviously an interest for that, and Manchester does have an interest in turntablism and stuff. So what's happening, the DJ and the performer of Statik outside of the battle world?
I suppose, currently I don't really play out often. When I do play out, it's like at a sort of like a jungle or D&B night or something bass music orientated. But my sort of main thing I make money off is just teaching, really. Like my job right now is like I work full time at a college, but prior to that I was like doing workshops all around and doing courses and one-to-one teaching, really.
Amazing.
I'm not really focused too much on the gig side, but I mean, like, of recent years I've been like putting my own nights on with someone and playing at like jungle and D&B stuff. But when I do one of those gigs, I literally play in CDJs, don't play turntables or anything.
Really?
I think like one of the events we put on, we put on like Lemon D and like some other people, like we had Holston and someone called Esme. And for that one, I just kind of did I've got a push here, I did a live jungle set on this.
Nice.
Kind of what I do, really.
So you had Esme Banks down, did you?
Esme. Banks.
From Bristol.
Oh no, she's not from Bristol. It's a local person up here. She's
locally.
Yeah.
We've got an Esme down here from Born on Road, which is why I thought you had that. But you spoke about Lemon D. Now, when I was looking through your Instagram trying to find juggles ready for the podcast, it was just jungle, and I was like, okay, I'm not looking at any fucking juggles. I'm a junglist through and through. So I was like, this is gonna be good. And I've been waiting to talk about jungle for a while. And you had Lemon D down. One of my favourite Lemon D tunes is the LA. Can't remember what it's called, but it's something called in LA. One of the original metalheads, Lemon D. So what took you from jungle to turntablism?
Or the other way.
I don't know. I kind of feel like he was a junglist before he was a turntablist.
Well, I mean, like before I got into turntablism, I was always like, I was going out to like events and stuff like that, and like I had an interest in jungle, but like the thing that was big when I was going out was dubstep.
Oh no!
When I say dubstep, I'm talking all the Skrillex stuff. I'm talking like all the flavorful stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
But I mean, like, I'm sure Dan, you probably might be aware of like Hit and Run and stuff like that.
Oh god, Rich Reason, man. I know Hit and Run very well.
That's the stuff I used to go to.
Yeah, man. Do you know what? It's still going, isn't it? He's still doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's old enough to be, a teenager or something now, isn't it? I mean, it's got to have been going for like
18
20
now.
years or something. Yeah. Yeah. So for your benefit, Rich Reason, it was all like drum and bass originally, and then obviously dubstep came into the scene, so it sort of like consumed that. But he used to run. They were every Monday, I think. Was it Hit and Run or was it Thursday? I can't quite remember. But
Yeah,
and it was at Punana, and it was at a few other places, but it's just been one of these nights that has just gone on. It's been packed pretty much every time for years and years and years and years. And he played in Fabric and all sorts of stuff. He
did really well.
He's done really well, yeah. But yeah, that's an establishment in a young. I guess a young Mancunian, and also anyone who's there at university, like everyone's got to go to Hit and Run if you've got any fucking sense.
Well, it was a dubstep night.
Well, it was a drum and bass night originally, but
see, because I remember first hearing dubstep, and I was walking through Lakota after doing a set, and I walked into the main room, and suddenly I was like, "Why is that bloke playing really slow drum and bass?" It's like, what is going on with it?
It's supposed to be on 45.
Why is it? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he got his record on 33. I couldn't get my head around it. It was like really early, like before it really started hitting. And I think a lot of people would like that. And it was a really interesting scene.
I loved it because its name came from dub and two step, right? Like I think that, and that's really what it was like originally, like really subby, really deep, like. And and then it kind of started to go a bit mad as Casper and Rusko stuff took off, and that's when it became popular. And and then the Skrillex era, I think, killed it. Although ironically, I think his stuff now is really cool. Like it's a bit more back in those days. He's gone very sine wave on absolutely everything he does now. In fact, everything is a sine wave from, I mean, where are you now? What's the music you listen to most now then? Is it jungle?
It's mainly like a lot of the, so I think I like listen to a lot of like stuff that comes out on like Rupture and Future Retro and all that sort of stuff. But I kind of like a bit of everything at the moment. Like I'm into banging to my footwork. I really like all my dubstep and stuff, all the good stuff.
Yeah.
Every now and again, check a 90s hip hop album on. I'm not really, the only stuff I don't really listen to is just like folk or indie music, you know what I mean? But yeah, I kind of just into a bit of everything really. The stuff I kind of make at the moment is more like footworky, jungle orientated.
Yeah, it's
have you got any aspirations with your music production and your footwork production? You just literally just sat around doing it for your own enjoyment?
I'm kind of like at the moment I'm just kind of getting like I'm doing a degree at the moment, so I'm just getting the degree out of the way of, and then we're gonna go try and get as much music out as possible. But kind of just making it and seeing how it goes. Really, it's not not trying to do it to be famous or anything.
No,
do it for enjoyment most of the time.
Nice. Are you releasing it, or is it just sitting on the hard drive?
I put some stuff out on Bandcamp yesterday for Bandcamp Friday. It was like some tunes I kind of was sitting on for a bit, but like one of them's like a bit more of a, I don't know, harder edge sort of drum funky sound, and then there's another one where it's like I've tried to make a 90s sounding jungle track.
Nice. Is that under Statik? Is that where can anybody find that if they're listening? Just go on Bandcamp.
I suppose it'll be on Statik MCR if you just go on Bandcamp. But I put like a lot of been working on a lot of bootlegs as well. Of like well-known jungle tunes or whatever, and then turning them into like footwork songs. What ones have you done? So far, I did like an Inner City Life one a couple of years back.
Oh, nice.
It's done pretty well on SoundCloud. Got quite a few people downloading it. And I've done one of Pesce's vocal tune.
Nice.
And then I've got one of Limb by Limb, but that's not uploaded yet.
No. Did you ask Goldie if you could do that? By the way.
No, but I've heard.
I'm saying you're a fucking brave man to do that.
I've read some Reddit feeds about it.
No, he literally threw somebody down the stairs in the 90s. Threw them down the stairs.
I've heard conflicting things about that. I've heard it's like not true, but then there's like I remember I was looking this up. I was thinking if anyone's made one, like a remix of it. And in this Reddit feed I was reading, there was like someone said, "Oh, I'm thinking of remixing this Goldie track," and then like all the comment replies were just pictures of stairs.
Yeah.
Like, what is this?
So I'm quite connected to the jungle and drum and bass scene and have been for a long time. And every source I know and every person that's told me about this, to the point where somebody I know was actually connected to the person who got thrown down the stairs.
All right.
And it's not just the stairs. I believe there's a couple of occasions where he has actually turned up into people's kitchens. I'm not trying to scare you, Statik.
That's all right.
But this was like the savage Goldie of the 90s and early 2000s. So I think he's just happy running about in Thailand at the moment, just doing silly things. But yeah, he's renowned for going and taking care of business with people that touch his skin.
Well, oh God, what is it now? I think I've got a couple of people commenting on my SoundCloud that I've uploaded. There's the tune of the SoundCloud track, and like someone said, "I'm surprised Goldie hasn't kicked your door down yet."
The problem is like that bloke. He's like right up there, hanging around with like Noel Gallagher and people like that. But he still like hangs about with us, basically. Like Randall died last year, and Goldie was at the funeral. Do you know what I mean? Goldie comes into Bristol and he's still. Do you know what I mean? Like I can't remember the names, but all the new guys coming up. You know what I mean? They'll get invited to his place out in Thailand, and they'll be doing the cold water challenge and shit. Like, yeah, he's still quite connected.
He's a good community personality.
He is.
Just don't remix his shit.
But do you know the really funny thing about Goldie and Don't Touch My Shit?
Yeah.
So his most famous tune, the Terminator, with the pitch shifter.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So he stole that break from a friend of mine's tune, Wishing on the Star. You know that note? I like the Fresh Four, Wishing on a Star.
Four,
That was Flynn, Crust, and Sub, all Bristol boys. I know Flynn quite well. And he lifted that breakbeat from Wishing on a Star. So he made it from Thievery, Goldie. So please don't come and kick my door down for calling you out. But you sample as well, motherfucker.
I was going to say, like, a lot of those jungle like producers, they weren't sampling from the originals. They were sampling from like 90s hip hop tracks, weren't they?
Of course they were, yeah.
Yeah.
Or Computer Music Magazine CDs, sample CDs. Because I've just properly nerded out. I've just been buying the original breaks on 7. So I got the Amen on original 7. I got the Think Break on original 7. I got the Hot Pants. I got Funky Drummer. I've actually just managed to buy the Sesame Blowfly break from Canada because there was only 5 online. And Canada was
have the massive dog eat it.
Well, yeah, and then I just got the Funky Nazoo Part 2, and it went through it was a 7-inch, so it could go through my letterbox. I got back, and my dog had fucking eaten it, the little bastard. Literally, if you go on my socials, you'll see.
He's got about 10 seconds of it left.
Yeah, there's 10 seconds of and the breaks in the first 10 seconds, so I had to fucking order another one to another address.
That is kind of painful, mate.
Really fucking. Like, honestly, I've been looking forward to that since I ordered it. It went out on second post. I bought it last week, and the only day I had to go out for our fucking meeting with Maya about the scratch competition. Yeah. Right. The 2 hours I was out of my house, it got delivered, and the dog fucking ate it.
Yeah.
Bastard. Absolute fucking bastard. Honestly. Actually, I might even get a picture of it up when I'm talking about it.
While he does that. So my understanding is, are you going back into battling at all, or are you having a hiatus?
I'm going to have a break this year.
Yeah.
Mainly because like last year, so give an example of like what the life looked like of someone who was preparing for these competitions last year. So I was working like oh.
Yeah, do you want to see the packaging? Fucking bastard. Look at it. Look. And he bit through the bit that says, fragile, don't bend. I swear he knows what he's doing, the little cunt. And I use that language because it deserves it with this.
We'll have to put an R fresh over that.
Yeah.
For all our children listeners. So back to the life of a man preparing to battle.
Well, I suppose as a life of a man with responsibilities.
Yeah. Hey, listen, totally understand that, dude. Right, go.
So obviously, like, you know, I work 35 hours a week, right? So most of the time was and then I'm studying a full-time degree as well at the moment. So it's like doing that and
that is, mate.
Preparing for a competition was pretty ropey. But it was like sometimes I'd have to like go to work with my equipment and then like go to practice straight after work, and then like, you know, I think I was meeting up with Tom like probably once a week or twice a week maybe, and then when I wasn't doing that or doing university, I was practicing my own stuff solo. So it was long hours, a lot of days.
Yeah. And it's like, you know what, I don't want to do that this year. I just want to chill. Yeah,
I think it's going to be like maybe a couple of years before I compete again.
Really?
What was it like going into the world end of things? What's that like? There's a lot of reasons why I didn't have a good time at the World Finals this year. But there was a lot of, I don't want to like, you know, diss anyone when I say this, but there was a lot of things that shouldn't have happened that did happen, and it just made the whole experience really stressful.
Are we able to get these things happenings without talking about the people involved? Is there a way we can skirt around that?
I'll say you know, like Dan and Antrix did what they could, and it wasn't their fault. basically.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
But I don't know what it was. I think it was maybe a mixture of the venue or whatnot. But yeah, like I think like one of the weird things that happened was like as soon as we got there, like to get in and sound check, they wouldn't let my partner in. They'd only let me in.
What?
And then like one of the judges couldn't get in to judge because his name wasn't on some list. It was just crazy. It was really not a good experience, to be honest. But
yeah, it's really stressful, that stuff, isn't it? Bloody hell.
it wasn't like the owners or anything. It was just I think it was like a lot of it was the venue and the security.
Well, I mean, managing to organise a worldwide competition that involves multiple turntables and multiple artists, and then a company from the UK having to go over to the States and do this. It can't be easy. So we're not shitting on the DMC at all here because it's a monumental task. But yeah, what a shame. What a shame. And I suppose when you're performing, it kind of puts you a little bit off kilter, doesn't it? With all of these little bits popping up.
Yeah. Like I'll give an example. Like, so that was like probably the most stressful situation I've probably had when I've been doing a competition. But then like, when you're doing like a battle and one of the other battles, like IDA, for example, they are like super militant about sound checks and like making sure you're okay and all this other things. But yeah, just this year I didn't get that at the World Finals for DMC, unfortunately.
No, so it was just you're kind of thrown on there. There's lots of, I mean, it's 1,000 people in the audience and stuff. It's a lot of pressure, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you've got this poor lad on his way to America from Manchester.
He's a poor old junglist.
Looking forward to
it was Paris. It wasn't America.
Paris, yeah. Going to the French. There we go. Obviously, but yeah, on his way to the World Finals, and then these things happen. It must have been really devastating for you as an artist going and doing that.
It was just one of them. It was like I've done World Finals before where I've had similar situations and like it's not been as stressful, but like it's been kind of like a bit rushed and you're like, oh, I need to get on set up and the other stuff. Like an example of it is like when you go and do one of these battles or you're getting ready to go on stage. Like I picked this tip up from Fumi one of the years. Like I saw Fumi have everything on top of his mixer before he goes onto the stage.
Yeah.
Whereas like you see some DJs, they'll take the bag on and then everything's packed in the bag and then the lights setting and you're just losing practice time.
Yeah.
But like Fumi, this one year I saw him just have everything on top of his mixer and I was like, you know what, that's a really good idea.
Bloody hell.
Do that in future.
Bloody hell. So with phase as well, calibrating that.
Oh man, I mean it's the phase thing is like, that caught me as well this year, like last year. I was like, Cutmaster Swift's just like looking at me going like, you ready? And I'm like, nah, phase is just like not working at all. You're like, what am I going to do it? What's it like backstage? What's the green room like? Are people daggering or freaking out, or is it fun? Like, what's the deal?
Well, it's not.
Most of us are never going to get there, Static, right? So, like, for a lot of people listening to this, they'll just be fascinated to hear what that world is like,
I mean, like over the years, it's obviously a lot less crowded. But like an example of my first ever experience in like a World Finals green room, right? So it was like 2015, and there was like so many sort of really good turntablists in this room. There was 2 decks set up, like 2 pairs of decks, and everyone's just kind of looking at each other like when you turn over. It's like the equivalent of like when you're in a pub and you put your quid on the pool table. And, like, people trying to get
there's pound coins like all the way along the table.
Headphone jacks.
Fine. Yeah, headphone jacks. Oh god, they'll be picked up, hoovered up quickly.
Yeah. So like an example of like the first ever time I was in like one of these green rooms, there was like 2 pairs of decks and like there was like loads of people in this room, like really cramped, like really hot. And it was in like a spare room in like I think it's like what's the venue in what's it called now? Is it the Ritz in Kentish Town?
We'll just go with that.
Or is it Coco?
Yeah. I don't know. It's not Coco. I think it's the Ritz.
Coco's...
It's like one of those O2. It's like a big one anyway. But like we're in this tiny cramped room. There's like loads of DJs like trying to get on and practice. When someone's finished, someone just jumps on straight away. I think my first experience was like I was practicing and then I turned around and like Precision's looking through my records to see what I'm using.
Oh mate, what?
Yeah, and then like it's just like, and then I think like there was this one year there was like I think DJ Mode was in there as well, and like they're just like staring at what you're doing and they're looking at you and they're looking at your mixer, looking at your records, and it's just like what the hell, super like just really weird environment.
And the thing is, as well, is like you're doing that into headphones, right? So actually, if you were a fly on the wall in the room, it's loads of like men, largely, staring at a bloke going like this, like eviling him out, and there's no noise.
It's just clicking.
It's just
clicking and grunting.
Clicking and grunting, mate. Lush. Oh, brilliant.
So yeah, let's go into some of these war stories.
Really heavy breathing.
Yeah, obviously, yeah, constantly. Whenever I touch a record, I'm heavy breathing.
Mate, I mean, honestly, that was the biggest shock to me. I mean, you probably saw the Revert podcast, but you know, because I was recorded in the studio, the course that I was doing, and I was tracking with a headset mic on and a thing, and I was doing the audio editing and stuff, and then I suddenly like muted the wrong one, so I was just left with me. Or the sound of me beat juggling, and it was just, I was like, oh my god, that's horrible. That's like the most disturbing pornography I've ever like had the pleasure of listening to. It was honestly awful. And I think so. I'm just imagining this tiny little green room full of heavy breathing men. Oh dear. Anyway, leave that in the listeners' minds for a moment.
Shall I start attacking the S11 again? Should we speak about the S11? I think I've done it way too much.
I think you've tried to kill the S11 and been killed.
And been killed by
the enthusiasts of the S11, myself included.
Yeah. Well, so what is it about the S11, Statik? What is it about that mixer? Because everybody loves it. Everybody uses
using it.
What is it about that mixer for you?
I mean, for me personally, so I've always like Rain has always been the thing that I've always used. Like I've always been a Rain user, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then when the 72 came out, I kind of feel like that mixer was just lacking in something. There was a lot of menu diving, and it was really difficult to use versus the 62, which I would say is like probably one of the best battle mixers that has ever existed.
Yeah.
But for me, the S11, like, I wasn't a big fan of the S9. I thought it was really limited in the routing, the audio routing and things of that nature. But the S11 is just, it reminds me of the 62, how you can just kind of like use it as a battle mixer and then like quickly get into like, you know, different presets and then like just get ideas down really quickly. Yeah,
man, I agree with you. I mean, I think the work, so I had a 72 as well, had a Mark 1 72, and I got rid of it because the effects workflow was just such a pain in the ass. And they've discontinued it now. They're not producing them anymore.
Yeah.
Which is crazy, right? If you think, because it's their flagship mixer, so maybe they've got something coming, but they discontinued it about 3 months ago. So I haven't seen anything since. So, but the workflow is terrible. But the thing with the S11 though is like I'm like scratching the surface on what it's actually capable of. Like I don't use any of that 3 and 4 deck stuff. I don't know whether you do at all, but I'm just getting into echo looping. The pads and all that jazz, but and I know how to use all those, and I do use them. But some of the more intricate stuff in there, it's just boggles the mind.
With those mixers, so like the 62 was probably the most innovative one out of them for this at the time, and then obviously the S11, S9 came out like quite not long after. Like the thing is with those mixers, like the 62 had like MIDI pages, so you could have like different MIDI mappings on different pages, and then you could just like quickly switch to like these like different settings you had, so then you could do different routines really quickly.
Yeah.
And then like the S9 brought that in, but then like the thing that was made the 62 stand out was when you plugged it into Ableton, the routing and the channels were you could like individually channel out every element of it.
Can you do that on the S11?
You can now, but the S9 was really limited. But the 72 had like similar routing to the S11.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense because I've never used a custom MIDI map. You have inspired me to try it actually.
God.
So poor old Ollie. He's gonna love this. He's gonna have to hear about it for the next 3 years as I geek out in some horrendously monstrous way. But
But the Pioneers do have like outstanding workflow. Even the DJM 800, the DJM 900 Nexus 2s, they're renowned for workflow. And you know, the sort of especially with those mixers, the sort of loss in sound quality you get from the DSP, you actually, you know, being able to just smash around on them is just ridiculous. And obviously the S11 is literally just a sort of workflow beast, isn't it? And it's interesting because in music who own Rain, they're you know, I think they got bought out a few times. So I think the stumbling block with the mixer you're talking about was down to a buyout around about that time in the development.
Possibly.
But Pioneer have also been bought out by Alpha Theta just before the S11. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with mixers.
Yeah, I wonder what's next. What do you think is next on the tech wise? Oh, go on, say what you were going to say.
I think like one thing like the 62 had as well, it had external sends and returns, and the newer ones don't have that, so you have to kind of hack it a little bit with Serato effects in order to do all that stuff you want to do.
That's clever.
The thing like they probably need to do, and I think like Serato need to implement this, is like have pages of, me and Tommy have talked about this so many times, like have pages of cue points.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. You should be able to have multiple ways you can flip stuff. Like, it's mad that there's only 8 cue points. Like, that just blows my mind. Why is that a limitation? That seems...
Well, because he didn't expect you idiots to be so fucking... so reliant on cue points, basically.
It's like, you can't fit more than 8 stickers on a vinyl, so...
I want to be able to access 32 single points of the tune at any one time. It's not bloody on.
And I want to be able to play each of them at 30 seconds. No, I mean...
Well, I'll give away a little secret here. I suppose if this is one workaround that I did for a routine was I instead of using just cue points, I had like a custom MIDI mode where I created like mini loops where it would trigger the start point of a loop instead of a cue point. So I basically turned it into like having 16 extra, 8 more cue points basically.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Do that.
That's clever. So how heavy are you on making Ableton edits before you get to the juggle?
So when I juggle, I try and juggle the original track and see what patterns I can come up with it. And then, like, for example, if I feel like it needs it, which it probably doesn't need it often, I will take a kick and then insert it in somewhere, just so I can get more of an interesting pattern out of it.
I do the same thing, man. I do the same thing. It's like if I want it's like they just didn't put one at that interval. I need it there. Yeah, I hear you. It's a good trick as well.
I suppose like with the edit side of things, I often don't heavily edit my files for, to make it smoother. If I require it, I will do to kind of like, if I'm running out of cue points, then I will like make sure like this section starts at this part, and then that means I don't need to use a cue point, and it will like, for example, on the left deck, it will like come around at 12 o'clock. So I've got a starting point, and I can get into the next routine or the next section.
Yeah.
I've started noticing on some of the more well-known guys, and they're doing these chases or strobes, and it's like, okay, that shouldn't be there. And oh, wait there. There's no way that strobe works there. And I think people are really starting to nerd out by taking these tunes apart.
Do you know what? I'm gonna call Revert on this one, right? Because Revert did something that I actually think was really cool. It was a couple of years ago. He inserted at certain points, "I shall not lose," or "I shall," something like that. "I will not lose." So that as he does the strobe, it did that through the. So it was it, and I was like, "That is." I like that. I think that's cool. That's got some cool levels to it. But it is that thing of like, oh, I'm going in and I'm making an edit here to do something a little special.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that? From coming from the vinyl era and being stuck to what was on the record to nowadays where you can do whatever the hell you want. How do you see that? What do you feel about these hyper edits?
At the time, so like when I was starting out, the vinyl era and Supremacy, like people weren't using original pressings. They were like custom pressing a lot of these records. Yeah.
But although you could make your own custom records, you couldn't sit there and then start doing some really intricate stuff because you couldn't bounce it out. It would have to be cut. So there was no way that you could do the real intricate cuts and these really crazy bits. So like there is a massive difference in just the instantly being able to do a cut and put it on the turntables, put turntables. That doesn't work, turntables. So I think they were tending to more put the tunes on that record.
Do you know what I think, mate? I think it's just the way that DJing has gone is that there is more of that crossover between the DJ and the producer, and if you look at like the people who succeed really in DJing now, they're producers who DJ, like all the people who've just like recently blown up massively. Generally speaking, they're producing DJ. The exception of that Fish 56 Octagon guy, but like all the other people like Badger and all those guys, it's all off the back of production.
Okay, no, let's get you started on that guy. Come on,
I'm not doing that. Oh God!
But I can see it. I can see it going.
Everything that's wrong with modern DJing, right?
See, I actually like that guy. To be fair, I'm not trying to draw you into a debate here, but I'm going to say I just love the fact that he did social media well and he's getting gigs. So fair play to you.
You know. What do you think of the social media thing, Static? What's your view on that?
I feel like it's too content heavy and people are not making things because they're interested. They're making things because they want to be famous or like get money from it, and it's kind of killing like artistry a little bit. I think, really, to be honest. Like,
so this is a very
cool.
This is a very interesting subject you brought up. So DJs, in essence, in the last 20 years, they weren't in a position where they could be pop stars. And what you're starting to see is in the early 90s, we had the boy band, we had the girl band, and we had pop actually being a mechanized sort of process of which you got good-looking people, you put them on television, and those good-looking people did better. So with the popularity of DJ and the loss of the underground scene, actually what you're finding is those people who would have been in a boy band 20 years ago are like, well, what's the point in singing? I can just play songs on a CDJ and make loads of money on it. So unfortunately, I think it is one of those factors which, when anything gets popular, you find people that are more fame hungry wanting to do it. But I don't necessarily think that takes away from us in the trenches, but it kind of makes you look like, actually artistically, I'm probably better than you. And DJ wise, I'm better than you. But
do you know what I miss?
Go on.
I miss an album. Right, I miss something that had a bit like a film does, something that had a storyline. Like I feel the thing that and I'm guilty of this too, right? Like the thing I find with social media is that it's constantly pushing me to think about like 10 seconds of content or like 30 seconds of content. Yeah. And it's not making me think like, what's the story like that I'm telling here? And like the fact that nowadays, you release a track, you don't really release albums. Like there's, I don't know. Like if you think about like hip hop, like the thing that is like fascinating about like hip hop was hearing how fucking mental someone's life is in America, like where you could be so unbelievably separated from a society that I would recognize as normal, being a white bloke, from fucking London, like that I kind of want to hear all the facets of this person's life. Like I want to hear about them growing up in New York. I want to hear about them going out drug dealing. I want to hear about them, guns and mad shit going. And it's felt like you could get into that. Whereas now it's like, oh, that track sounds cool. And I'm like, it's such a shame. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I love going out and playing bass music, playing these individual tracks and getting people going wild and all that crap. I love that. But it does feel like I'm missing an end-to-end story from an artist.
I suppose when you're thinking about that, like that's people using art to, talk about their reality, I suppose. But
that's it, yeah.
When you're thinking about social media, everyone's kind of doing stuff for clout and just being like, yeah, look at me, I'm doing this. And then really, a lot of the times, they're not really doing that.
No.
Yeah. There is that as well, yeah. The turntable's turned off. Well, I tried to get AI to help me with that. I think there was a point in time where I felt like the fact that I wasn't sexy enough was holding my DJ career back. So I tried to get AI to help me, and it didn't work. It didn't work. I'll post it in the chat for anyone. Anyone who's got
we're
definitely
getting we're definitely getting a factor of, the DJ used to exist underneath lights and in radio studios, and you tended not to have any sort of focus on your face and what you were doing. And obviously social media and the popularity of the iPhone or the Samsung with the amazing cameras tends to bring that to it. But it does open up a couple of interesting factors. Do you know what I mean? Because there are some quite well-known and doing well DJs that aren't the most pleasing to the eye. Yeah. That are still sort of making their ways. And it makes me wonder, how much extra hard work are they doing? And do you know what I mean? Yeah. And the metal scene back in the day, do you know what I mean? The metal bands and the punk bands weren't the most visually pleasing people. They still did it. So I think that still can exist. But I think that there also is, you can focus on the aesthetically pleasing people doing things you want to do.
Do you know what I think is a good thing? I think all this introduction of AI is going to be a good thing. And just hear me out on this. I think the AI stuff is going to obviously increase the volume of bullshit that's on these platforms, which is going to force the platforms to generate algorithms that identify organic, authentic human content. And I think when that happens, a lot of the sort of fake nonsense that's out there that's also humans doing things will start to disappear too, because once you're flooded with this crap, you start to leave the platform, right? And like people are going to get wiser and wiser to the fact that if they start arguing on the thread, that it just pushes it out to more people. And as people get wise to all that sort of stuff, I think it will start to disappear. Because at the end of the day, people do want the authentic content. What they don't realise is that they get spurred into commenting and all that stuff, which is what drives it out to everybody. The second you start trolling, you're actually doing the person a favour.
But if you're looking at that, and then you're looking at going back to the 90s from having channel 1, 2, 3, and 4, and having the people that own it tell you what you can consume and tell you what you can get, and have to go out and actually reach for DMC. Do you know what I mean? It's like, what would you prefer, Dan? Would you prefer where we are now, or channels 1, 2, 3, and 4 in the 90s?
So what I think, there are some things that I like about it. Like so if you take like Connor Price, for example, right? Connor Price has made a life for himself as a rapper by basically becoming very good at turning his story creation, like his rap creation, into like consumable, entertaining content on TikTok. So he came up with this idea where he spins a globe and he puts his finger down on it, and wherever he lands on the globe, he basically goes and finds an artist who's up and coming in that part of the world, and they make a track together and they split the royalties 50-50 on Spotify. But he packages that out like as a sort of story where he plays all of the characters in the story. And it's just really interesting and entertaining. And I'm like, that stuff is kind of cool. Like, because that could never really have existed, however many years ago. The problem is all the dross that comes with it and all the just like total bait, like, oh, here's a pretty woman with some decks that aren't on and a track that she's not even playing. Do you know what I mean? And that stuff's just like, if we could find a way of swimming through this, that'd be great.
I feel like we've like a lot of the, like how people get. I mean, I'm guilty of it in the past when I was younger. Like I used to get annoyed when I'd see stuff because I was like thinking turntablism was like some kind of self-importance thing. Where I was like, look, I can do this on the deck. Yeah. But I suppose like a lot of the people who kind of get triggered by a lot of that stuff and just don't see it as it's just clickbait rubbish. Like, and they get triggered by it and then comment on it and then like, you know, start chipping their 2 pence in. It's kind of like they've got nothing else to channel that energy into other than I am this person, I have done this. This is rubbish.
Well, I mean, you're in a position where you have done loads of shit and you are this person, and there's a lot of people that look up to your skill set and what you've achieved, and you've got some good stories for the grandkids if you're going down that route after university. So let's get some clickbaity content out of this, and we do that by asking you what your favorite routine is. So when we promote the podcast, we do a clip of your routine and then you talking about it. So join us in the horrible world of Facebook and TikTok promotion.
Favorite routine of your own? This question
of my own. Oh.
Yeah.
Ooh. That's I think my favorite one I've ever made is probably that Fat Boys flip one.
Yeah,
okay.
I love that.
Why is it your favourite?
I feel like it uses, because obviously like the tune I've used the John First in Shield version, and then I've used the original version.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like it ticks the boxes for the newer stuff, and I'm cutting the ha 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 stickum bit.
Yeah.
And then the
cuts on that are so cool as well. They're so like fun and musical, man. It's wicked. It's honestly wicked.
Thank you. But then like I kind of flip it into the old school version by like juggling like kind of like some kind of like throwback patterns, but also like pretty quick. And then the ending bit is like, I think I'm like triggering some 808s over Simon Says, you know, the bit. So. But that's then like using some of the more modern side of stuff, because how we used to do that routine years ago before I got the S11 was I used to use Ableton at the same time and then like layer key points on top of each other.
Yeah.
This is where the nerdy bit comes out.
No, it's good, mate. It's good. Yeah. That is a stellar routine, man.
And so who's better, you or Peanuts?
Oh, here we go. I'm not answering that one, man.
We did give you a pass not to answer, but I am going to push you.
To be honest,
I'm going to push you. But we can do this constructively. So
right. Well, let's say this: like I've battled Tom, Tom has battled me, and we've both like he's beat me, then I've beat him.
Yeah.
You know, so. Like it's been one of them where like he's beat me a few times, I've beat him a few times. So I to be honest, personally, I think Tom is probably better than me. Well, a lot better than me, to be honest.
Well, then we can look at that extremely humble response. Then I thought you're either going to go humble or you're going to go full battle mode. But you said you're not entering this year, so I suppose it's not necessary. So maybe in a couple of years, when you end up on the same stage, we can really pull this friendly rivalry out of you. Maybe.
Well. I mean, oh God, there's been some like funny times that me and Tom have battled each other, and it's just afterwards we're just like, nice routines, yep.
Yeah.
But so last year when you were both on the same stage, you were both competing. Did you? I can't remember. Was it different competition?
Yeah.
So that's how they did it.
Yeah. So what I did was I didn't know if the Supremacy was going to run, so I entered the 6 minutes, and then when I found out I was in the Supremacy, I dropped out the 6 minutes because I was like, no point.
Yeah. You knew what each other had? You'd already worked it out, or it was just a happy ass to compete against him?
Yeah. Oh God, I just couldn't be bothered going against that again because.
Wow. So that motherfucker, we had a great podcast with him last week, and all the way through he was like, I'm not that competitive, and then coming up to the end of it, Dan started talking about he was.
I just asked him innocently. It was innocent. I just said, "Are you going in this year?" And he was like, "Are you asking for a specific reason?" And then zoom straight at me.
And it was like, he sat there and he psychologically like
it was warfare, man.
Yeah, psychological warfare was
since.
happening between the cameras.
To be honest, like over the years, I used to like really think like chess style with it. Like I would like make sure all my videos were on private so no one could see what I've done.
Yeah.
I would like watch what people are doing on social media and like look for little snippets. just stuff like that. Like, and then it doesn't really matter when you're up there because, like,
it doesn't make any difference.
You could be bricking it against someone, and then they could make a mistake, and then that's it. They've lost.
Yeah.
There was like one particular year I was in IDA, and there was like someone I was scared of going against, and then as soon as they started, they completely flopped their routine. I was just like, right, got nothing to worry about now.
So, what's your favourite DMC routine?
So, I'm gonna be a little bit thingy about this one. So, I think, like, without saying, like, I think, you know, the craze routines and all the old stuff, like, that's classics. They are like, that's like pinnacle without saying. Them stuff, them routines are amazing.
Yeah.
But if I was going to say, like, of a modern thing I like, it's probably going to be like, so if I was talking like straight skills, it's 2012's Precision's 2012 routine.
Okay.
Like, some of the stuff he's doing in that is just like the juggle patterns and the cuts, like cutting on both hands and then juggling these really intricate patterns is just next level.
Yeah.
Nice.
But then if I was going to say from an innovative point, it's probably like Vex 2015 or like Brace's 2016 routine.
Brace's 20 is that the 2016 where he's on the balcony and and he's got like a wah pedal and he's got the vest stacks with the pitch, mate. That is one of my all-time favourites. It is probably one of the most musical like routine, like DMC sets I've ever seen. If I'm trying to get people who aren't turntablists into the art form, that is one of the first ones I put in front of people. It's an amazing routine.
All right, so I feel. Oh, go on. Sorry, Corey.
I was going to say when he did the world finals that year though, because obviously with the you know, the equipment limitations, so he had these custom records pressed up where one was a Serato tone and the other side was a tractor tone. Right. So when he was doing that routine, he had like Ableton, Tractor, and Serato open all at the same time, and like he like custom MIDI map stuff in Tractor, and then like was, you know, doing the stuff, like made his routine work in like a DMC setting. Yeah.
What? That's mad.
That is insane.
So, what year is that?
2016. So if you go on like YouTube and find it, but basically he was talking to me and Pete about it beforehand. Turnsmore, Pete.
Yeah. I know Pete.
He was telling us about it, and we was just like, "How the hell have you got that sorted? Like, how have you managed that?" But basically, like, there's a section in that online routine where he's cutting on the other turntable, the other mixer he's using. Yeah, and then he's like cutting both decks. You know, like cutting the sound in and out with both decks.
Yeah.
So in the DMC, when he did the live version of it, he was like cutting one side of the fader, but he was cutting both decks, and then he was like manipulating both turntables at the same time, like, you know, one after the other.
That's mental. I mean, the processing power of laptops in 2016 sound like he was on the fucking edge of those processors.
Taking some risks there.
So you spoke about watching DMC routines when you were eating your food.
Yeah.
And, right, so you've given reasons why technically, but if you want to go for that quick hit dopamine hit DMC routine, what would be your go-to?
Oh, that's a good question. I suppose I tend to just sort of watch all like the earlier stuff. You know, like the 2000s parts where like you've got sort of like the old school stuff with like +1 and A-Track and, you know, all those guys. That's probably the one I'd watch where I'm like, all right, this is interesting. You know, I want to go watch something like that.
My favourite is Quest from 2005. That is my. If I ever want a dopamine hit, I go to Quest 2005 and just try and watch that. And I watch it every 6 months. Every time I watch it, I've obviously got 6 months better. And I'm like, oh shit, he's doing that as well. And every time I watch it, it's further and further apart from my reach. And it's like one extra bit. I'm probably never going to be able to do that.
One of my favourites is the Scratch Bastard one where he does where he's got the 2 records and he turns it into the Star Wars theme.
Oh, that is ridiculous!
I just love watching that because I think it just builds into it so well, and everyone's like, "Oh man, that is just." That is nuts, as if he came out with that. But
what's interesting though, he's battling Kiko in that competition.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know Kiko juggling patterns, but like Kiko's like next level. Like the juggling patterns that guy's doing is like no one modern can mess with that stuff. Like it's like a beat juggling connoisseur's like, you know, guy sort of basically, right?
Next level, yeah.
Yeah.
How do you learn your juggles, mate? Just out of interest. How do you learn them? Now, like Tommy helps a bit, but like, do you watch videos and slow them down, or what happens?
Well, to be honest, like my style comes more from watching like the older sort of like, you know, routines and like watching how they do it, and then like that's kind of like I've still carried that through. Whereas like when I do juggles now, I'm not very cue point heavy.
Yeah,
I tend to kind of stick on the decks, and then I use the cue points to jump to the next section that I need to. But with like patterns, I just kind of just practice. I'll just like learn basic, the kind of like the go-to patterns. So it's like strobes, chases, but like just kind of like just base it off old school patterns, really.
Yeah, and just try and add the bits on top that add the flair to it. I love the way you do patterns, mate. I think it's got that talk that speak to old school, but it's also quite like you've jazzed it up a lot. I think goes a lot further.
If you were starting out on beat juggling, I think like the best patterns you can kind of learn is total eclipse like style patterns.
He does a lot of like full. It's what you would describe as full speed, and then doing like 16ths across and going back and forth across the two. It's all stuff we were talking about the other day, basically.
I've literally just come over the hill with
the 1 and the 2 beat to come back and forth, and then you're moving like 5 and 6, and then back round 1 and 2 again, that kind of thing. Yeah. For anyone listening to that was just numbers, wasn't it?
Coming here, Dan, counting.
The way you could think about it though is like if you think of a strobe light, that's obviously where the name comes from, isn't it? Because it's like you think of a strobe light, it's like in a certain rhythm, and it's doing that with the sound, isn't it? I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, I love strobe patterns. I know like everybody does them, and they can be a bit cliche, but I just think they're good crowd pleasers, like as well. Like if I'm out doing a gig and I do a bit of strobing, it always goes down well because it's such an obvious flip, and the basic ones are quite straightforward to do once you've got them right. So you can there's not that much pressure when you're doing one of them live, like compared to something a bit more, obviously you can jazz them up a lot. Like I'm not saying that you can't, but I think they're really rewarding. I really like doing them live.
I suppose it depends where you do it, though, doesn't it? Like you can't mid flow of a jungle set just start strobing.
No, and doing strobing bloody what's her face? Fucking I don't know what's her name. That bloody what's her name?
I've got no idea where you're going with this.
I was going to say someone Taylor Swift in fucking Oceana.
I would have never gone there. Where the fuck did that come from?
Let's do some do it in a nice pop gig. See how people feel about that. So we've heard quite a lot of the Statik story up to around sort of 2014, 2015. It would be great to hear a bit more about your story from there, mate. So I guess. There's the battling. There's also any kind of music production and stuff like that, and what you're kind of focusing on now. So, yeah, man, give us the juice.
Yeah. So when 2015 rolled around, I sort of decided to battle again, and basically went for it again. And it was at the I don't know if you remember, this isn't around anymore, but there's the BPM. Thing at the NEC in Birmingham.
I remember that.
So they had the DMC there, and basically what happened was it was like they had the UK final like later on at this big stage, and then they had like the Supremacy battle in like this little side thing where it was just like in front of the rain stand, earlier in the day. Cool. It was like. God, in that battle there was me, there was some random guy called Camille. I've never seen him again since that battle. Like I've not seen him on social media or anything.
It's disappeared into obscurity. Did he get beaten badly? Was it?
Well, I'll talk about that in a minute. But, so basically, like, no, he was cool though. He was really good. I liked his stuff. But basically, like, there was so it was like, yeah, Richie Rufftone was in that battle as well.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So,
He's a tough nut to crack.
Yeah, so this was when it was still vinyl only. No Serato was allowed in Supremacy at this time, and
God, that was it was like that in 2015, was it? God, that's crazy. I suppose that would have been.
That was the last year they did Supremacy vinyl only, though.
Was it?
So,
right.
I mean, up until that point, everyone was just kind of using pressed wax anyway, so it didn't really matter if you had original records or not. You know, it was just the easier option, I suppose. But
yeah.
My first round was me and this Camille guy. Yeah, no, it was cool. Like, I've messed up loads in my routine, and he messed up a little bit. But then, like, I know at one point during the routine, you know, when you do the old way of dissing and all the other stuff.
Yeah,
I was playing some disses and stuff. I ended up sticking my middle finger up at him, and he just did not take that too well.
Mate, it's a battle. How can you?
Yeah,
you've got to expect a couple of middle fingers.
I know, but yeah, he was like, I think he was quite a bit older than me, so he took it really personal.
Oh no!
Anyway, so then it ended up I ended up winning that round.
That's salt in the wound.
Yeah, and it ended up being me and Rufftone in the finals.
Oh yeah, great, nice easy final.
Yeah. But it was funny because it was like, oh god, who was judging that battle now? It was like, I think Switch was judging it. I think Daredevil was judging it as well. I think maybe John First was judging it. I can't really remember because it was like 10 years ago.
Yeah. But I think I saw it recently. I saw Richie Rufftone's part of it. I think because I remember going, oh, that's Statik over there. Yeah. It was that you were kind of angled out against each other, and the camera was behind Rufftone in the video that I saw. So I saw you kind of over there. How did it go?
Well, obviously, I think at one point I was like, right, I'm definitely not going to win this, so I may as well like do my stuff and come off clean, and I'll try to. And there was like a moment where he was, you know, he did his Can't Take the Weight routine, you know, the Gangstar track.
Yeah.
Oh, who's going to take the weight? Sorry. And like I remember, like at one point I was like, you know what, I've got that record in my bag, and then I went and grabbed it and then sticking it up quickly, and then didn't stick it up, but I got it to the point I needed to.
Yeah.
And then I used the section he did in his routine against him, and then put this in there, and then like carried on with my set. But everyone was like laughing and was just like, oh shit, no way. Just got a quick thinking.
Oh mate, that's a wicked story. That's brave as well, man. Although I suppose when you're kind of in that scenario, you're like, I might as well do something a little wacky here.
I'm going to lose.
Yeah.
But I remember, as I played that part, Richie like took his headphones off. Was like, "What?"
Oh, that's funny, man. That's funny.
But yeah, I think basically he ended up winning. And then like a couple of weeks down the line, I ended up getting a message from Richie, and then I got a message from Sally when she was still running DMC, and they were like, oh, Rufftone's dropped out of the Supremacy. Do you want to take his place at the World Finals?
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
so off you went. Was that the first time you'd been to the World Final?
Yeah, competing, definitely.
Oh my god! I mean,
yeah.
Tell me what that's like, dude. What's it like?
Well, it was a bit of a surreal experience because it was like that year. That was like the year Vect won it. And like Richie was competing in the 6 minutes. Precision was there. Eric J was there. Who else was there? Spell. That was the year Spell came second. There's just so many big people in that battle.
Yeah, I mean that's huge, man. I mean that's only 10 years ago. Like, you know, it's not that long ago, is it? Like,
no.
Yeah, I suppose some of those guys were like in their prime at that point too. So, it's also, it's one thing like a Switch or, whatever coming back into it now, but you're like, where they haven't battled for years, but obviously they're still absolutely sick. I mean, especially Switch, but like, it's like, back then it's like, we're right in the teeth of it, right? It's like, that's amazing, dude.
Yeah, just thinking about it as well, like this is like the time. So I noticed this with battles and like people who, are sort of at the top of their game at this point. You always find that like there'll be like a period where they'll compete 10 years prior. And then like they'll be, they'll do well, but they won't be like the level they're at now. And then they'll come back like down the line and they'll just like absolutely decimate everybody. But then like there'll be like multiple people doing this. And like obviously around that era, it was like so many big people just like took a break and come back, and it was like,
crazy, man, crazy. And then where was the world final?
The world finals was at I think it was the HMV Forum. Is it in Kentish Town?
Right, so it was in the UK, was it? Okay.
Yeah. At this point, it was always in London.
It was still in London at that point.
Yeah.
Oh, mate, that's wicked though. Fuck.
Yeah, the world finals was pretty crazy as well.
How did you fare? How did you do? Did you get through the first round?
Well, the first person I competed against, like in my ever world final, was Eric J.
Oh, fuck. Oh, mate, he's so dope. He's still killing it now. I think he was the world champ 2 years ago for for the all vinyl category, I think. And it was sick as well.
What was the one he did? I can't remember which one he did, but like that was around the time he just was doing really well. Anyway, I think like that was the year before he won his first world title and all the other stuff. But like it ended up being him and Precision in the finals at that one. And that was a pretty good one. It was a good battle.
Yeah, I bet. And that was all Supremacy, wasn't it? Yeah, because Rough Tone and Take. Yeah, that makes sense. No, cool, man. And so what happened from there? What? You still got the bug. Still got the bug for battling.
Yeah, so like what at the time I was using the 56. So I didn't have a digital mixer at that time. And then like basically Richie at the like the after party thing, because he got his prizes from winning the Supremacy.
Yeah.
So he then basically just said, okay, here's the 62 that I won. You can have it. And I was just like, whoa. Yeah. So like at that point, that was it. Like my head was just like, right, okay, I'm using Serato. I'm doing all this shit for my next year. I'm getting all this stuff ready for the next year.
Man, when the universe hands you something like that, you've got to take it, haven't you? Do you know what I mean? It's like, someone's telling me I got to do this now.
Yeah.
That is cool. And then so you were like, right, battle prep.
Yeah. So like that year, I like literally was just like locked myself in my room, did not do anything other than practice. Like learned a lot of new things, like learned how to MIDI map and then like, custom map the mixer to how I wanted it to.
Still super cool, man. I don't really see anybody else doing that. It's a cool.
Yeah, well, this was
cool
it
thing.
though. So with the 62, like that's the S11, but with the 62, there was this thing called like MIDI pages, and that was before the custom user modes that you've got now. And you could like really, really go in depth with the mapping. And that mixer as well was like it was like the last mixer that had like sends and returns, like that was hardware in. Or battle mixer with hard sends and returns, sorry, should I say. But like with that, it opens up the possibilities of like routing everything for Ableton or routing stuff to external stuff, and you can just go really deep with it.
That sounds like a fun rabbit hole.
Yeah.
My wife would never see me again.
Oh God. Yeah. Yeah. I think making sure you're definitely in a secure situation before doing that is good.
Yeah. Advice to all turntablists listening: your wife might not appreciate custom MIDI mapping. Oh no. Yeah. So when was the next time you came back and battled them? Was it literally the next year? You were like, right, cool.
Yeah.
Bam, I'm in this. So what happened that year?
I really got everything ready. I was like, right, I'm going to do DMC, I'm going to do IDA. But actually, wait, sorry, just to say, 2015 didn't kind of end there. I did IDA that year as well.
Oh, did you? Right.
Yeah. I can't believe I forgot about that then.
How you battled a lot, dude.
Just like skipped
You
past.
battled a lot over the years, right? You know, these go past. So was that the first IDA that you'd gone into then?
It was the second one.
DMC up to this one.
Yeah, so the first one was like 2014, but that was like online, and I'd never done it before. But 2015 was in person, and it was in Birmingham. So,
right.
Do you know much about IDA or who ran the UK at the time? Or
do you know what? I really don't, mate. And to be fair, I've not really followed it much. I was always to be fair, man. I've only really properly got into properly into turntablism in the last sort of 5 or 6 years. I mean, I always watched the DMC, but like the DMC was so big that I kind of always knew about that, and I was always like, oh, I should probably check that out every now and again. And you know, but the IDA was just slightly more underground, and therefore I really never knew it was there until maybe sort of 5 or 6 years ago. So yeah, it's all news to me, dude.
Well, yeah, with like IDA is like always been like a bit of a DJ's competition, basically, where they make, because it's run by DJs, they make sure like the competitor is comfortable and like you have a sound check and like everything runs like on point. You know, you make sure you're ready, basically.
Yeah, you got the best possible setup. Yeah,
exactly. It's good.
That's nice. Take some of the stress out of it.
100%, yeah, you've not got someone like saying to you like, oh, why are you not ready, even though you've got no power to your decks or anything.
Yeah.
I'm still pulling my laptop out of my bag. But yeah, so like that IDA UK at the time was run by George. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us, but he ran it for quite a few years. And he did a good job of it. He really tried with a lot of the DJs and supported. But yeah, so basically that was in Birmingham that year, and how it kind of ran, there was a technical category which they don't do anymore, and they have a showcase, and showcase can be done as a team or it can be done like as a solo person with just one turntable in the setup.
Right. Okay.
And yeah, so like I was doing technical, and Peanuts and a friend of ours called G Cut was doing showcase as a team. And basically it was like, I think in the technical, it was like me, Rasp, and Pete Turnsmore was in it as well.
Yeah. I know Pete. Yep.
Yeah, and then like in the showcase, I think it was like Rasp against Peanuts and G Cut. So it was like quite a few people in it.
Yeah. Cool
so
bunch.
What happened was there wasn't enough people to do a 4-way, like a 2 rounds battle. So they did a 3-way. So everyone basically just like did all of their routines one after the other.
Oh, nice.
So it's like we just decided to change the format up on the day, and yes, it was like, I can't remember the placings, but that was like me. I got first. I think I can't remember if it was between Rasp or Pete who got second. But,
nice.
Yeah, and then like Rasp ended up winning the showcase category as well, which was like, oh, even Rasp was like, I can't believe this has happened. But yeah, it was quite a heavy one.
No, wicked, man, wicked. So then, so you came out of that. So there was a victory there.
Yeah,
man, that's got to feel so good.
Title as well,
mate. Yeah, well done to you, man. Yeah. That's awesome. Because how long had you been battling at that point then?
2 years. I think that was my 3rd year doing it. So like,
that's
so I did 2013,
man.
2014, and then 2015 was my first one. First win, should I say.
Amazing, man. That's amazing. And did you do totally different material in the IDA to what you're doing in the DMC?
It was a little bit of, I basically had a bit of everything, but I just adapted it to the stuff for IDA. But like, it was useful because I still had, like, I know going back to DMC, Richie sent me a load of records before the World Finals as well, just to like get me ready. So like I kind of had still had some of that stuff ready. So I used that in the IDA, and then it was, but I'd used a mixture of Serato and vinyl.
Right. Yeah. Cool.
It's like you could do that. But yeah. then it was like off to Poland for that one.
Yeah, because it's always in Poland, isn't it? The final's always in Krakow. Yeah. Yeah, man. Everyone I know who's been in the IDA really raves about it. Like, it's a nice competition. I think it's struggling, though. I think it's a bit touch and go as to whether it will continue running, which is a shame.
I think that's just down to like just turntablism in general. Like
man.
It's hard asking people to commit a year of their life to something, and it's not really going to get you anywhere, really.
Yeah. This is it, man. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, it's purely for the creation, and the people who are of a caliber enough to be in it often, like, they're looking at it from a career perspective because that's what they have to do. Like, their time now is at a certain premium, right? And it's difficult, man. I mean, we see that a little bit setting up Unstoppable, right? It's like getting people into that, that are of the right caliber, but kind of having to commit to building a chunk of material and competing on it. Despite the fact there are great prizes there, it's a big task. I get it. I get it, especially because also we don't see loads of like 18-year-olds, right, and 20-year-olds coming into the competition in the UK. Now, I'd love to be a part of changing that, right? But like, the fact of the matter is, those folks could blow loads of time on this stuff, could commit to the crazy stuff, could stay up all night figuring stuff out. Whereas the rest of us have got jobs and kids and
100%.
mortgages and horrible stuff like that. I mean, it's like, am I really gonna manage that? And I think, I get it. I do get it. So
saying that, like, I'm 32, and there isn't actually a younger competitor at the moment in the UK, which is bizarre when you think about other countries where they've got like 12-year-olds competing and stuff like that. Like,
I know, you look at like little DJ Michelle, Shock's daughter. Yeah, she's got to only be about 12 now. Yeah. She's going in for her like 5th year, I think. It's nuts.
100%.
Although I've got to admit, like, there is I'm quite good at sort of managing my ego, but I'm not sure I could take being beaten by a 12-year-old. I feel like I don't know. I feel like I might regress.
Well, it depends who that young person is, doesn't it? Really, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I suppose you kind of have to take your hats off to someone like A-Track or someone, don't you? You just sort of go, you just like fucking killed me. Yeah, but it's like, like 3 days later, I've chosen a very different career after that. But yeah, so 2000 and so that was 2016, was it? And that was
15.
15. And so that was DMC, then the IDA, and that was your first title, the IDA. Yeah. And then so back in 2017 into the DMC, 2016 into the DMC again.
Yeah, well, I was going to say with the 2015 IDA finals as well. So that was that I ended up getting second against Skills in that.
Bloody hell!
Yeah. So it was like that was a bit of a crazy surprise where it was like I wasn't expecting to do well. Then ended up getting through to the eliminations, and then ended up. I think I was against a guy called Dat Flex from Spain.
Yeah.
He's cool. And then ended up like winning that round, and then they were like, "Oh yeah, you're against the finals. You're in finals against Skills." I was like, "Okay."
Mate, that's cool though. I mean, how did you feel at the time?
It was really bizarre. Like, it was just it didn't feel real because going from like not placing at all to then getting, winning something and then like getting second, like at a world final was pretty crazy. It was just like, is this really happening?
yeah, mate. I mean, it's amazing. Like, it's a really short time to go from, kind of hobby DJ into that position. Out of interest, did you find, at that time, did it boost your for want of a better word, DJ career, or did you find you had more interests and you were out doing more gigs, or was it purely cool? I've got some, recognition from a community that I'm fond of. How did that work?
It definitely boosted, like, people wanted to, like, do stuff, like, could, like, a lot of local people in Manchester was like, right, okay, we want to get you to do cuts, or like, oh, do you want to come DJ from this gig? And it just kind of like helped me kind of get in with a lot of people who at the time, we're actually like doing quite a lot of good stuff in Manchester, which was good.
Yeah. It's always had a good scene, Manchester. God,
yeah.
It's always been great. Hip hop, beats, dance music.
Yeah.
Rock and roll, man. Always good. Always good. Okay. So you found that sort of, that boost. Yeah.
Yeah. But it also, like, it just really put a battery in my back for the next year. I was like, right, I'm going to learn loads of stuff. I'm going to do this in the battles. I'm going to try and, like, do as many routines as I can and, get as good as I could.
Yeah, wicked, man.
Yeah.
How did it go?
As good.
Mate, the ups and downs of a battle DJ, right?
Yeah.
What happened? What went topsy turvy?
So I ended up doing DMC, and I was like really gunning for the Supremacy, and I didn't get it. I ended up losing against this guy called X-Rated. It's not the guy who is.
It's not Andreas.
Yeah, it's not him. There's another guy called X-Rated.
Yeah,
he was like Bournemouth or something. But I ended up losing, and it was one of those battles where you thought, I thought I should have won that, but at the time, it is what it is.
Hurts, that does, man.
Yeah, so that like really just like proper kicked me in the stomach. Like I was like, oh no, this is not good. I was like down for like weeks afterwards.
Oh mate, oh no, it's like it blindsides you, man. I get that, dude, because like whether you like it or not, like there is a build up, right, and there's like a pressure cooker, and if this stuff means something to you, which, to be fair, if you're in it, it probably does, right? And it's like, yeah, it sucks. There's a like after your wedding, right? There's blues. Wedding blues is a real thing, right? So then that you can almost guarantee is going to go your way. I mean, there are examples, but like in a competition, it's like, oh man, that's so much work.
It was like a thing I remember Rich Ruffton saying to me once, because he like didn't do as well as he thought he wanted to do in the 2015 battle, and I remember he said like, "Oh, I'm gonna have like DMC blues or battle blues now for like months afterwards." And after he said that, I was like, "Right, that makes sense. I get it."
Yeah. And I guess like there's that real side of it too from the from people competing. As we were saying, like, oh, there's a lot of material you got to build and all of that, and a lot to commit to. But it's also then like, the chances are, the odds are you're not going to win because there are a number of competitors and they're all very good, right? And you might have a very real couple of weeks of quite savage blues afterwards. It's like, oh, it's not sounding so attractive.
Yeah, exactly. I suppose that's what the young people see as well. Like if you see like competitions and like someone loses, it's like, all that hard work.
Yeah, all that hard work. I'll tell you what though, you did get a lot from every gig afterwards is a damn sight more comfortable.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you're not panicking about anything afterwards.
Yeah. It's like, oh yeah, doesn't have to. Well, I'm not being judged.
With all that as well, though, with the competitions, all it is at the end of the day is like you leveling your skill set up. That's the main thing to take away from it. You're not like doing it because you're like, I know I'm going to win. It's like, I'm going to level myself up. I'm going to get better as a DJ from this. Like, it's just some experience you can't get from anything else, really.
And that's like the whole point of the B-boy battle thing. Like, it's not a serious it's not a battle, like as in like you're not really going head to head. It's like a motivational structure to help like increase the innovation in the art form and like drive an art form forward. I didn't get that though. Like as an outsider to it, I really didn't get it. I kind of thought, it's like really serious and like all this, all this dissing, And then you get into the, and you're like, yeah, no, obviously that's just fucking silly, right? Like, it's just fun, right? But it's just part of the, like, egging each other on atmosphere that gets you to somewhere else. But I think, I do wonder whether that somewhat alienates, some of the younger generation who are, I don't know, I guess, like, to be quite stereotypical, but a little bit more caring about others than we maybe had in the past, a little bit more accepting of different groups of people, it's like, what do you mean? I'm going to get up on stage and I'm going to tell someone I'm going to fuck their sister. Like, what? I'm not going to do that. I think that was what Switch did to Switch dissed Buck Wild. We're Buck Wild on one of these, and it was like, God. Switch's diss was about shagging my sister. He was like, he hasn't met my sister. She like works in the military. She's hard as nails. She's having him for breakfast. Anyway, digressed a little bit there. But yeah, no, okay, cool. So you've gone up, right? You've had your high, then you've come kind of crashing down.
Yeah.
What happens there? Do you pick yourself back up? Like how?
I mean, like that year as well. I went and did IDA again, so I ended up like winning the UK final for IDA again. Luckily.
Oh, nice.
And then like went to the World Finals, and was nervous, like the most nervous I've ever been for anything, because I was like, there's all this expectation. I was like, right, I really want to win this. Like I really was like gunning for it. And then I didn't even make it through the eliminations. And then it was like, right, okay, see ya. Enjoy the rest of your night. I was just like, oh, right, it's going to be really hard to enjoy myself after this.
Yeah, that is, man. That's kind of crushing, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's difficult. So how do you tackle this stuff? Like, do you have, like, because you've had, like anyone who's done this stuff as much as you have, you've had some knockbacks, but you kept coming back. What is it that helps you get back to that state of, I'm coming in for this?
I think like I definitely needed a year off after that. Like I thought, right, I need to not put myself through this again for another year, because I was like, this is going to really do some sort of like, this is really going to kill my love for DJing, basically.
Yeah.
But,
okay.
I mean, with that sort of stuff, like it I think that year was like a good learning curve, because it was like, don't take this stuff too seriously. Like it was like that year I was like, I made it everything. Like I like didn't learn anything else other than just like learning DJ techniques. Didn't do anything else other than that. Like that year I could have done something more like, more adult. Like I could have gone and got a good job, or I could have gone like studied and got myself. But instead of spent that whole year locked away in a bedroom.
Yeah.
Pushing the record back and forth.
Yeah, cutting deeper grooves into a record slowly over time.
Yeah.
No, I do hear you on that, man. So a bit of a break was the kind of the critical thing, and then that gives you the space to let the passion take back over.
Yeah, and like that year in particular, like when I had 2017 off from the battles, like I ended up learning more stuff than I ever did than I would do for getting ready for a competition. So like I ended up learning better production, ended up learning like more juggling techniques, got tighter at cutting, and then like started like messing around with Ableton and the mixer more. So it was like that kind of set myself up for the next year as well.
Yeah, nice. And that brought you, what year did you come back?
It was like 2018, I think. I decided to come back.
It was 1 year
because I had like loads of stuff ready.
You won 2018, didn't you? You had some you won a title in that. Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah, so I won the 2018 UK 6 minutes for DMC, and then I won the technical category for 6 minutes for IDA, and then that was the first year me and Tommy did a team set. Oh,
that's wicked, that set, by the way.
Yeah.
Love that.
So we ended up doing our 2018 team set. That was like the first year we ever did one. So
did you come second for that team set?
Yeah.
I thought so. Mate, that was cool as well. And what's that like? What's it like? Because I've never been in a team of DJs. That sounds that sounds cool, but it also sounds like it's quite tough because
yeah. I mean, like it's one of them. Like, it definitely is something that is definitely a learning curve. Like, you have to learn how to work as a pair, and then you have to work how to get your your workflow down.
Yeah.
But also, like, I think at that time, like, Tommy was really like focused. He was like, I'm happy with my cutting, basically, and I don't think he was like as keen on juggling as he is now. So it was like I did a lot of the juggling stuff, then he did a lot of the cutting parts, which was like work to our strengths sort of thing.
Yeah, that's quite a nice way to segregate, isn't it?
Yeah. But we was kind of like, we were really focused on incorporating a lot of tech in our stuff. So like Tom had a keyboard, I had like a 62 and a MIDI controller for like finger drumming parts. And then we did like some stuff with Ableton in there as well. Like, it was really like, let's try and do as much stuff as possible. And then like as the years have gone, just kind of strip stuff down a bit more.
Yeah, nice. I mean, that's so much fun. I like one of the big things that I'm working on at the moment and just trying to work out the best way of doing it is I want to incorporate more liveness into the whole thing, so I do a lot of like bootleg remixes and stuff like that I'd quite like to get more audience participation in that. I'd quite like audiences to make choice about which genre that ends up being, like I quite like to be able to do a lot of it live as well, with pads, and I'm trying to work out whether I'm going to be able to push it or whether I'm going to use my MPC for it and just have a lot more planning involved. But like, I just think it's really cool, like, to kind of, I don't know, take turntablism, take the performance element and then just like add on more. I like that. I think it's a really cool concept. I guess one question I'd have for you, and I'll put you on the spot a little bit here, but like, any advice you'd give to anyone who's thinking of making that step? Like, what should they think about, or like what stuff does and did work and didn't work, or like anything like that? Because like personally, I'd be super interested, but I know there'll be a lot of people listening who are also kind of along that path too, and might find, someone who's done a lot of this stuff, some of your experience really interesting.
For me, I'd just say, like, don't overcomplicate it. Don't think, oh, I'm going to do this really ultra cool thing. Like, I'm going to have like these things turning these drum racks on and off, and I'm going to do this really cool thing. No one's going to care. Like, no one's going to like, oh, I really like the way that guy's modulating his drum rack. They're not good. As long as it sounds good, that's all that matters. But just don't overcomplicate things. Like, don't think, oh, I'm not being real if I'm not like doing this all live. Like, make things easier for yourself, basically, is what I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. The conclusion I was coming to was definitely like, I was going to start simple. I was just going to have like one or two tracks that I always play in my DJ set. I was going to just have those so that I could swap across to doing stuff and kind of make it so I'm only finger drumming the drums and play the rest first, and then be like, well, I could probably do that a bit more complex and still keep it tight. You know what I mean? And gradually step into it that way. Because I'm also a pretty inexperienced finger drummer, so it's a bit of a step for me to be doing that live.
I'll give you a little cheat code. Look up Ned Rush's jungle drumming racks.
Right. Yeah. Do you know what? I have a funny feeling I've seen them. Is that because they're in the kind of three? And it's
so no. What I mean by that is, so like, if you're using Ableton for like a live set, like I've got my push here, for example, like these Ned Rush racks, basically it's quantized. So if you mess up, it's fine.
Oh, I see. Right. Okay. Cool. Yeah. So it just always, that's a good idea. Yes, it's quantized to like a 16th. Yeah. Does it handle swing and stuff like that? I guess it will do on Ableton, won't it? You can swing the whole. You put the global swing on, not the global swing. You swing the clip, and then it will.
I suppose you could do some tweaking of it, but I reckon, like, if you're going to get into that stuff, like, there's a couple of guys that, like, for example, whoever's watching this as well, if you're ever thinking about getting into that live performance with Ableton or whatever, look up there's a guy called Human Synthetics, and there's a guy called Ned Rush. And pretty much, if you want to like find crazy, easy to do live stuff, they're your people really to watch.
Right, wicked, man. I'm definitely going to take a little look at that, and I hope anyone else watching or listening to this who's interested also takes that advice. So we're coming up then to 2018. Did you compete between then and 2024? Did you continue competing in that time?
So like, I think like after IDA, I didn't really. Well, I suppose with IDA as well. So when was in like the World Finals as well, just to mention this as well, I think like it was like, I think that was like the year K-Swizz won like 2 titles, like both of the titles, and one of them was with Renner as well. And
mental.
I think like one of the, what was it? I think I got through the eliminations that year as well, and they ended up against K-Swizz in the first round.
Oh God!
But like I don't know what, like I had like some needle issues as well, so it was like I had tech issues. So I did my stuff like pretty clean. I was happy, and then like as I was coming to sort of like, so to speak, the uppercut section of the routine where it was like this is the punch.
Yeah,
my needles lost connection. I was just like, can't continue.
Oh no!
In case was like, right, okay.
Okay, I'm gonna kill you now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God! I mean, he's incredible, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he has the gift of time. It's his entire life, right? So that's a big advantage. I think his dad was a DMC dude as well, so he's got like, he's got a great bit of
Don't know if he like did any DMCs or anything, but he definitely like is DJ, and he's been around those guys I think for a while, so he kind of
he's got some good mentorship, right? Which definitely helps, but that doesn't take away from how fucking amazing he is. I mean, like fair play to the guy. Like, it's easy to go, oh yeah, well he's got a big leg up, but it's like, yeah, he's also put in an enormous amount of work.
There's
he's pushed some boundaries, Fair enough.
With him in particular, like he's like, there's some stuff, like people don't reveal the secret sort of thing. There's like, he's definitely got like a little science to a lot of how he does what he does and why he does what he does that he doesn't tell people. But like when you have conversations with him and his dad, like at these competitions, for example, like I've done it a few times, you can see there's like some little tricks they have, which is like there's a reasons why he does what he does, to like to do better, basically. So they've
got some elite training stuff going on there, that works, man. It works. Like he's won like a stupid amount of world titles. It's like unbelievable.
Yeah.
Renner as well, man. I've been watching a load of Renner stuff. I've been trying to steal his juggles, which is a challenge. You can't slow YouTube down slow enough. It's like, whoa, hang on a minute, mate. But yeah, he's awesome as well.
Those two guys do though is like they don't overcomplicate things.
Yeah.
And they like do a lot of easy to follow patterns, but also doing back like really technical in a way, and like super clean. So it's like they'll do it really quick,
unbelievably clean,
and then it'll be just super clean. But like it seems simple, but it just isn't simple. Like it's
and to do that live in a battle is like unreal. I mean, it's like I don't know, I guess that's just time at the decks, but it's like how they're managing their nerves and stuff. I mean, I'd be fascinated to find that out, how they approach that, because it is crazy. They're so tight, and they're tight every single competition. You might spot one slightly sloppy kick, it's like, what? Like, that's ridiculous. Like, how? When you're doing like that level of elite stuff. But yeah, I'm with you though. It's like this kind of layered simplicity, but just executed like a machine. Unreal.
With that as well. Like I feel like with the battle stuff, like you're saying about them feeling nervous. Like I think after a bit, like for me personally, I think like I actually started enjoying battles after like 2019, like competing in them and like being able to do my showcases and stuff, and I found that actually fun to do. Like, but
Yeah,
like
nice.
before that, I was always absolutely shitting myself.
Yeah. And what changed?
I couldn't really say, to be honest.
Just
I
a
just think it was
maturing, or like just
yeah. I was just being like, this is what I'm doing. I'm enjoying it. This is the thing I've been working on. I want to show it to people.
Yeah, so it sort of almost doesn't become about the battle. It becomes about the showing the thing, the creative performance. That's good.
So like, I mean, like I know it's one particular year. So I think I defended online for 2019 because DMC at that point was online, and I ended up like losing it to Michael. And then like when IDA was live again this time, but it was at Beat Geek for Richie and Simon's thing, and like that I actually enjoyed doing that battle because it was like fun, and like I was like, okay, I'm going to showcase this stuff I've been doing, and these are my routines. Hope people enjoy them, like that sort of thing. It became sort of, it was a fun battle to do. But like that was I think that was like the moment I actually felt like, oh, I actually enjoy doing this now.
That's fun, man. That's cool. And then so carried on after then as well. I'm not surprised because it's like fun at that point. Has it turned since? Was it 2024, 2023? Were either of those a bit like, oh god, or
well? Like I did 2022, but I was focusing on solely just doing that as a team thing with me and Tom. Like Tom was like really good in for technical, and he was really good in for 6 minutes. And I was like, right, okay, I'm not gonna go for those. I'm gonna just focus on the team stuff with you.
Wicked.
And like no, it paid off that year. Like it was a good year for the pair of us, really.
Yeah. Nice. And
but, yeah, like I took a break 2020, 2021. I didn't do it. I didn't do battles. Then did 2022, and then 2023. I think I did just IDA.
Yeah.
And then ended up winning the UK finals for that. And then then 2024 was like last year, wasn't it? That was the
yeah. And bloody Hugh Wackman or.
Oh god, yeah,
mate. I mean, to be fair, man, you were awesome, dude. It was wicked, man. Yeah, the mask was just. Dude, I was in the car with him all the way down from because he's from Wales, and boys from Wales were driving down, so they came and picked me up, and you're about to locate it.
I've actually got it here somewhere, wasn't it? It looks like some Jeepers Creepers, wasn't it?
Yeah. But I went down in the car with him. Hey.
What the hell is that? That's absolutely terrifying.
Mate, that's so funny. He I hadn't met Maya at this point, right? I'd heard about Maya. I hadn't met him. And I get in the car with him, Goldsmith, and a guy called Simon Rue, Scratchmaster Slider. Legendary guys, really fun. But I got in this car, and like honestly, like he had so many like props and so much like random stuff in the car that I was like, what the hell is this? He'd like a McDonald's fries thing with fingers coming out of it. I was like, what are you using that for? And then obviously, saw and was like, oh right, you loony. But trips over his bag of tricks when I was like setting up. Like I'm like trying to like navigate around this dark stage. Oh, it was so small around there as well.
Yeah. I nearly tripped over this dumbbell just like on the floor. It's like, what the hell is that?
Yeah, he had to bring a dumbbell so that when he put the deck up the right way, he had something to hold it up. God.
I've got to admit, I'm so glad he didn't use that routine against me, because I was like, that would have been game over, I think, even no matter what I had.
Yeah, it was a good routine, that one.
Yeah, that TIE fighter thing against me, I would have been like, oh, that's it.
Yeah, that was genius as well. Put the needle on the record, put the tone arm or whatever. No, it was needle on the mixer. That was it. Needle on the mixer. I was like, that is that's golden, man. You're a smart cookie. He's interesting, man. He's an innovative dude. It's been quite good fun recently working with him on stuff because we're doing obviously Unstoppable and that's just been like, just interesting to see. He's just a constant ideas dude, right? Like he's just like his head just constantly goes like this. So it's like, all right, that makes a lot of sense now. I can see how you come up with these things because you actually can't stop coming up with things. You're just wired that way. But yeah, dude, honestly, it was awesome because that's actually the first time that I think I've seen you live. Which is a sort of sad state of affairs, but also it was really cool to see you busting your stuff because, it was wicked routines, man. I really enjoyed that. And obviously this is a fallow year for you.
Oh, I'm having a break. But
I don't blame you, dude.
I mean, like I think like last year was probably like I kind of realized my limits a little bit last year because like at the time I'd like working full time in education, teaching. So that was like a lot. And then I was doing the team stuff with Tom as well, which was like, I was like going practicing after work, like taking my mixer and my push to work and then walking down to this place called SEM, which is, I think Rasper's mentioned this before.
Yeah.
But it's a place called electronic music, but Mark owns it, practice there basically. And it's just down the road from where I work. So I was like going to there and then like coming home. Obviously, when you're, if you've got a relationship and stuff, it's really difficult.
Yeah, because you're worn out, man. Like, worn out. Like, it's a lot.
Like, I think I'd started a university degree as well at that time, so it's like,
yeah,
yeah,
that's a lot.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot. So I'm having a break this year.
Yeah, I don't blame you, dude. We obviously the thing has been announced this year. It doesn't look like there's any Battle for Supremacy though.
Oh really?
Yeah, I don't think there is, man. I don't know. Maybe I've missed something, but I've only seen the classic announced. So I don't know whether they're doing the Supremacy this year, which would be a bit of a shame. So they're just keeping the seat warm for you, mate.
Should have asked if I could do it. Might have got a spot in Japan.
Straight over. Yeah, you'd get yourself straight over to Japan. Yeah, that's a nice flight, isn't it?
I don't think I could put myself through that again for another year.
Mate, I think that's so daunting. I mean, like, as much as I'd love to win, like the UK DMC, like the bit that I worry about with doing that is like legitimately, like. Going over to like Tokyo and being in like Tokyo and like I'd like to enjoy Tokyo. I wouldn't want to, and I'd be going over there to be like extremely stressed about this like very high pressure scenario that I was about to go into. So I'm like, I don't know whether that's for me. But yeah, anyway. But yeah, cool. So do you think you come back to it though? Do you think there'll be a fallow year or two and then you'll be back in the seat?
Well, I'm not going to say no. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, like I've been like not making routines for battles, but I've been making stuff to kind of like sharpen my skills up a little bit. So you never know. We'll see.
It depends on the material you come up with, right?
Yeah,
that's the much more sustainable way. It's a much more sustainable way to do it. Tommy talked about this. He was like, it used to be the DMC sort of deadline, and I'd just like work like a dog towards it. And it was like, actually, now I just create all the time, and then if something's good enough, I roll with it, and then it's a bit more fun. And I was like, I'm going to do that this year because that sounds like a much more sustainable way to live my life.
Yeah, I mean, like, well, I was thinking like, was it like when I won the 2018 one? Like that was like the way I did it, and it was the only stressful part was like just like practicing and sharpening the setup. But like actually, when you've got the routines there, you just need to make them tighter, and that's it.
That's just time of the decks, right?
Yeah.
Over and over and over and over and over.
Take a very long time and a lot of
this. So, you come away with juggle eyes. Do you get juggle eyes? It's like I can't see properly because I've been moving like this too much. Your head's like, whoa. Quest gets it, so I'm glad I'm not the only one. But like, get juggle eyes, mate. I can't see properly. Like half an hour afterwards. Sore neck.
Oh yeah, that's another one. Can't miss that.
Yeah, that's it, man. Yeah, there's definitely some battle scars. Well, look, dude, are there any other things you want to kind of like mention or highlight?
No, I think that's it really. I think I kind of covered it. Like I just kind of wanted to mention like the battles and stuff, and like you know
man.
what they were like. And
mate, they're great stories, man. And like this like experience that you know, and like you got there so quick, like as well. So it's like it's a real roller coaster, man. Yeah. I think it's amazing though. It's cool because it's like you know coming back to it. You know, and you're like, yeah, I'm just gonna, you know, I'm gonna go in again. I've got something cool to do and show and da 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 da. And it was nice to hear that the years towards the end were like, I'm actually enjoying this now. I'm not so bloody stressed. Statik, mate, thank you so much for being a part of whatever this was, whatever we can describe it as. Really appreciate it, man. Well done on all the accolades really over the years, but well done last year. I thought it was really good seeing you in action. You know, like coming to that DNC is the first time I've kind of actually been at one and also been in a competitor of one. So seeing it in the flesh and being a part of it, you know, it was just really impressive. So well done, man. And we do look forward to another time where you start battling again, and we're going to be running a battle in December of this year called Unstoppable.
It was the one with Hugh.
Yeah, the one with Hugh Wackman, right? And you know, if you are able to get yourself to Bristol around that time, come along. There'll be a jam there as well. There'll be all sorts of stuff going on. So it would be lovely to have you there as a kind of connoisseur of battling as well. But yeah, man, if you're ever in Bristol, holler. And it'd be great to have a jam with you and stuff at some point. But thank you so much for today.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, man. Great to have you.